The unexpected encounter. The bridge of the UES Defiance hummed with tension as Captain Marcus Vale studied the massive alien vessel that had just dropped out of hyperspace. The ship was beautiful in a terrifying way, its crystalline hull reflecting the distant stars like a cosmic mirror. It dwarfed his battlecruiser by at least 3-to-1. "Sir, they're hailing us," reported Lieutenant Jessica Core from the communications station. Her voice carried the steady professionalism that had earned her a place on humanity's most advanced warship, but Marcus could hear the underlying nervousness. "On screen," Marcus commanded, straightening his uniform. This was humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization, and he knew that everything depended on the next few minutes. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that was both alien and strangely familiar. The creature stood nearly 8 feet tall, with elegant features that seemed carved from living silver. Its eyes glowed with an inner light that spoke of intelligence far beyond human understanding. When it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that made the bridge crew shiver. "I am High Commander Vexhara of the Zephyrian Collective," the alien announced. "You will surrender your vessel immediately. Your species has violated sacred space." Marcus felt his crew tense behind him. Chief Engineer Tommy Briggs muttered something under his breath about alien arrogance, while Tactical Officer Nina Cross's hand moved instinctively toward her weapon controls. "I'm Captain Marcus Vale of the United Earthship Defiance," Marcus replied calmly. "We're explorers, not invaders. We had no knowledge of any territorial claims in this sector." Vexhara's expression remained unchanged, but something flickered in those glowing eyes. "Ignorance is not absolution, human. Your kind radiates chaos wherever you venture. The Council has decreed that your expansion must be contained." The word sent a chill through Marcus. Contained, not negotiated with, not welcomed into galactic society. Contained, like a disease. "High Commander," Marcus said, his voice taking on the diplomatic tone he'd learned at the Academy. "Surely, we can discuss this peacefully. Humanity seeks friendship among the stars." For the first time, Vexhara's perfect features showed emotion, and it was contempt. "Friendship? Your species has existed in space for barely a century. You know nothing of the delicate balance that has maintained peace for millennia. You are children playing with fire in a powder magazine." Marcus felt anger building in his chest, but he kept his voice level. "Then teach us. Help us understand." "Some lessons," Vexhara said coldly, "can only be learned through defeat. You have 30 seconds to prepare for boarding. Resist, and your ship will be atomized." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Marcus looked around at his crew, 47 souls who had volunteered for humanity's first deep space mission. They deserved better than this. "Sir?" Nina asked quietly. "Orders?" Marcus smiled grimly. "They want to teach us a lesson about fire and powder? Let's show them what happens when humans get creative. Human ingenuity unleashed." The Zephyrian boarding pods struck the Defiance's hull like metallic meteors, their advanced cutting beams slicing through human armor plating as if it were paper. Vexhara had expected the primitive humans to surrender immediately upon seeing the technological superiority of her forces. She had not expected to find the ship's corridors filled with what could only be described as organized chaos. "Report!" she commanded through her neural link as her boarding teams advanced through the ship. "High Commander," came the confused voice of squad leader Kethmol. "The humans appear to have modified their ship's internal systems. Our scanners are detecting gravitational anomalies, electromagnetic distortions, and what appears to be weaponized atmospheric processing." Vexhara frowned. Weaponized atmospheric processing? That was impossible. The technology required to turn life support systems into weapons was beyond even collective understanding. Her confusion deepened when the first casualty reports began coming in. Her elite soldiers, equipped with personal shields that could deflect plasma bolts and energy beams, were being defeated by humans using what appeared to be improvised weapons and tactics that defied all military logic. On the bridge, Captain Vale watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Tommy, how's our little surprise holding up?" Chief Engineer Briggs grinned from his position at the engineering console. "Like a dream, sir. I've rerouted the artificial gravity generators to create localized gravity wells. Their fancy shields don't know how to handle being pulled in 3 directions at once." Nina Cross added her own report from Tactical. "Sir, the electromagnetic pulse generators we rigged from the coffee makers are playing havoc with their neural links. They're having trouble coordinating." Vale nodded approvingly. It had been Tommy's idea to weaponize every system on the ship. The young engineer had looked at their desperate situation and seen opportunity instead of defeat. Within 20 minutes, he had turned the Defiance into a maze of improvised traps and unconventional weapons. The boarding parties found themselves fighting not just human crew members, but the ship itself. Corridors suddenly shifted gravity orientation, sending armored Zephyrians tumbling into walls. Automated systems sprayed industrial lubricants mixed with metallic particles, creating conductive slurries that overloaded alien equipment. Even the ship's waste recycling system had been converted into a weapon, launching pressurized containers of organic matter that fouled alien sensors. Vexhara materialized on the bridge using her personal teleportation device, expecting to find a command center in chaos. Instead, she found Captain Vale calmly sipping coffee while his crew worked with quiet efficiency. "Impossible," she breathed, her perfect composure finally cracking. "Your technology is centuries behind ours. How are you defeating trained soldiers? With kitchen appliances?" Vale looked up at her with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "High Commander, you made one critical error in your assessment of humanity." "And what is that?" Vexhara demanded, raising her weapon. "You assumed that advanced technology makes advanced warriors," Vale replied. "But humans have been fighting with whatever we could find since we lived in caves. We don't need the best tools. We make the tools we have into the best weapons." Around the bridge, his crew continued their work, each one contributing to the ship's defense in ways that no military academy in the galaxy would have taught. They were improvisers, innovators, and survivors. "You should be afraid, human," Vexhara said, but her voice lacked its earlier confidence. Marcus Vale stood up slowly, and for the first time since the encounter began, Vexhara saw something in his eyes that made her take a step back. It wasn't fear or desperation. It was the quiet confidence of someone who had just realized they held all the cards. The blush of defeat Vexhara had lived for over 3 centuries, had commanded fleets that pacified entire star systems, and had never once felt the emotion that humans called embarrassment. Until now. The impossibility of her situation was becoming clearer with each passing moment. Her boarding parties were not just being repelled, they were being systematically dismantled by humans using tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. These creatures fought without honor, without proper weapons, and somehow, without losing. "High Commander," her tactical officer's voice crackled through the deteriorating communication link, "Squad 7 through 12 are requesting extraction. The humans they've turned their food preparation areas into chemical weapons laboratories." Vexhara's elegant features contorted with disbelief. "Explain." "They're using what appear to be cooking spices and cleaning supplies to create airborne irritants that penetrate our environmental filters. 3 of my soldiers are currently incapacitated by something they call pepper spray made from hot sauce and industrial solvents." On the Defiance's bridge, Lieutenant Core was coordinating the ship's unconventional defense with the enthusiasm of someone who had finally found her calling. Chef Rodriguez reports that his kitchen surprise has cleared decks 7 and 8, sir. Apparently, alien digestive systems don't handle concentrated capsaicin very well. Captain Vale nodded approvingly. What about Tommy's gravity traps? Working. Perfectly, sir. We've got at least 20 hostiles stuck to various surfaces throughout the ship. They're alive, but they're not going anywhere until we turn the gravity generators back to normal. Vexahara watched this exchange with growing horror. These humans were discussing the defeat of her finest soldiers as if they were comparing notes on a mildly interesting science experiment. Where was their fear? Where was their respect for superior force? You cannot win this engagement, she announced, though her voice carried less conviction than before. My ship carries weapons that could reduce your vessel to constituent atoms. Marcus Vale turned to face her fully, and Vexahara found herself taking another involuntary step backward. There was something in his expression that she had never seen. Before, not in 3 centuries of conquest and domination, it took her a moment to recognize it. Pity. High Commander, Vale said gently, you're absolutely right. Your ship could destroy us easily, but you won't. And why is that, human? Vale gestured to the tactical display, where the positions of both ships were clearly marked. Because you're curious now. For the first time in your career, you've encountered something that doesn't fit your understanding of how the universe works. You could kill us, but then you'd never learn how we did it. The accuracy of his observation hit Vexahara like a physical blow. She was curious, desperately, achingly curious about how these primitive creatures had turned her perfectly planned military operation into a comedy of errors. Besides, Vale continued, his smile becoming almost kind, I think you're starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, the Council was wrong about humanity. The Council is never wrong, Vexahara replied automatically, but the words felt hollow. Really? Then explain this. Vale activated the ship's internal security feeds, showing her the current state of her boarding parties. Elite Zephyrian soldiers, trained from birth for warfare, were trapped in maintenance shafts, stuck to walls by gravitational fields, or sitting in the ship's medical bay being treated for exposure to improvised chemical weapons that smelled suspiciously like pizza sauce. Vexahara stared at the displays, her perfect composure finally cracking completely. A flush of deep silver spread across her crystalline features, the Zephyrian equivalent of a blush. This is impossible, she whispered. No, Marcus Vale said quietly. This is human. For the first time in 3 centuries, High Commander, Vexahara of the Zephyrian Collective found herself at a complete loss for words. And despite herself, despite everything her culture had taught her about inferior species and proper military protocol, she found herself genuinely impressed by these chaotic, unpredictable, impossibly resourceful creatures. The feeling was deeply unsettling. It was also, she realized with growing alarm, rather exciting. Alliance forged in fire. The standoff lasted for 6 hours. During that time, Vexahara found herself in the unprecedented position of negotiating with beings her culture, considered barely sentient. What made it worse was that she was losing the negotiation. Your boarding parties will be returned unharmed, Captain Vale was saying, his tone reasonable and diplomatic, but I want something in return. You are hardly in a position to make demands, human, Vexahara replied, though both of them knew it wasn't true. Aren't I? Your soldiers are comfortable enough. Tommy rigged up some entertainment systems for them while they're stuck to the walls. Apparently, they're fascinated by human music videos. Who knew? The casual mention of her elite warriors being entertained by primitive human media made Vexahara's eye twitch. What do you want? Information. Specifically, who or what is the real threat that has the collective so worried that they're willing to start a war with a species they've never met? The question hit closer to home than Vexahara was prepared for. She studied Vale's face, looking for signs of deception or manipulation, but found only genuine curiosity and concern. There are things at work in this galaxy that your kind cannot comprehend, she said finally. Try us. We're pretty good at adapting. Despite herself, Vex Hara almost smiled at that. The past 6 hours had certainly proven human adaptability. Very well. There is a force spreading through the outer rim. We call them the Devourers. They consume entire civilizations, leaving nothing but empty space where star systems once thrived. Vale's expression grew serious. And you think humanity might attract their attention? Your species radiates chaos energy. It's unique in the galaxy. Most civilizations develop along predictable patterns of technological and social advancement. You do not. Your unpredictability creates ripples in subspace that can be detected across vast distances. So you wanted to contain us, to keep us hidden from these devourers? Vex Hara nodded reluctantly. The Council believed it was the only way to preserve galactic stability. And what do you believe now? The question hung in the air between them. Vex Hara looked around the bridge of the Defiance, seeing humans working with calm efficiency despite facing overwhelming odds. These people had turned kitchen appliances into weapons, had used industrial equipment to defeat trained soldiers, and had done it all while maintaining their humanity. I believe, she said slowly, that perhaps chaos is not always a weakness. Vale's smile was warm and genuine. Would you like to see what happens when human chaos meets a real threat? Before Vex Hara could respond, the ship's sensors began screaming warnings. Lieutenant Kor's voice cut through the bridge noise. Sir, massive subspace distortion detected. Something big is dropping out of hyperspace. On the main screen, reality twisted and buckled as something enormous forced its way into normal space. The ship that emerged was unlike anything in the known galaxy, a writhing mass of organic technology that seemed to pulse with malevolent life. Devourers, Vex Hara whispered, her face going pale silver. The alien ship immediately began scanning both vessels, its attention focusing with predatory interest on the chaotic energy signatures emanating from the human ship. Well, Vale said, calmly, looks like we're about to find out what humanity can do when we're really motivated. He turned to his crew. All stations, prepare for combat. Tommy, I want every unconventional system we rigged online. Nina, target their scanning array with whatever we've got. Jessica, open a channel to High Commander Vex Hara's ship. Sir, Kor asked, we're going to need allies for this fight, and I think our new friend here is about to learn why humans don't. Stay contained. Vex Hara watched the preparations with growing amazement. These humans weren't just fighting for survival. They were already planning to protect her ship as well. Without being asked, without negotiating terms, they had simply included her forces in their defense plans. You would fight beside us? She asked quietly. Marcus Vale looked at her with that same gentle smile that had so unsettled her earlier. High Commander, you came here to protect the galaxy from what you thought we might become. How about we show you what we actually are? For the first time in 3 centuries, Vex Hara felt something she had never experienced. Hope. The birth of an empire. The battle that followed would be remembered as the moment humanity announced itself to the galaxy not as a contained threat, but as an unstoppable force of nature. The Devourer ship had expected easy prey. 2 vessels caught in conflict, weakened by their confrontation. What it found instead was something unprecedented in galactic history. Perfect cooperation between species that had never worked together before. Vex Hara, Captain Vale called over the communication link. We need you to focus your energy weapons on their primary feeding apparatus. Tommy's identified a weakness in their organic armor. Understood, Captain. But our weapons may not be sufficient. Then we'll make them sufficient. Tommy, can you rig a power transfer? Chief Engineer Briggs was already working at his console, his fingers flying over controls with practiced efficiency. "Sir, I can route our main reactor output through their ship's systems. It'll overcharge their weapons by about 300%. "Do it!" Vexahara watched in amazement as human engineering merged seamlessly with Zephyrian technology. The power transfer should have been impossible. Their systems were completely incompatible. But the humans weren't trying to make them compatible. They were creating entirely new pathways that bypassed conventional limitations. The enhanced Zephyrian weapons tore through the Devourer's defenses like fire through paper, but the victory came at a cost. The power transfer was burning out both ships' electrical systems. "Sir," Nina Cross reported, "we're looking at complete system failure in approximately 4 minutes. "Then we'd better end this in 3, Vale replied calmly. "Tommy, can you turn our entire ship into a projectile?" "Sir?" "The Devourer's core is exposed. If we ram it at maximum velocity, we can trigger a cascade failure in their organic matrix. But we'll need to evacuate the crew first." Vexhara's voice cut across the communication channel. "Captain, our transporters can handle your entire crew. But what about your ship?" Vale looked around the bridge of the Defiance one last time. She had been humanity's first deep space vessel, their first step toward the stars. "Some things are worth sacrificing for the greater good." The evacuation took place in perfect coordination. Human crew members materialized on Zephyrian ships, while their vessel, now operating on automated systems designed by Tommy Briggs, accelerated toward the Devourer at impossible speed. The impact was visible from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, the Devourer ship was gone, consumed by the cascade failure of its own organic systems. The Defiance was gone too, but her sacrifice had proven something that would reshape galactic politics forever. Standing on the bridge of Vexahara's ship, surrounded by humans and Zephyrians working together as if they had been allies for centuries, Captain Vale realized that something fundamental had changed. "High Commander," he said quietly, "I think it's time we had a real conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy." Vexahara nodded, her crystalline features showing an expression that her people had no word for, respect mixed with anticipation. "I believe you are correct, Captain. The Council will need to hear about this. The Council and everyone else who thinks humanity should be contained." As the combined fleet set course for Zephyrian space, carrying news of humanity's first galactic victory, neither Vale nor Vexhara could have predicted the consequences of their alliance. Within a decade, human innovation and alien technology would combine to create the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen. The Terran Empire was not born from conquest or domination. It was born from the simple human truth that when faced with impossible odds, the best response is not surrender. It's creativity, cooperation, and the unshakable belief that there's always a way to win. And sometimes, that way involves turning kitchen appliances into weapons while making allies out of enemies who came to destroy you. The galaxy would never be the same.